In this video, we're going to be going over the different types of heel heights. So obviously there are tons of different types of heels, so I'm just going to go over some standard ones that I personally have that I can show you. So the first one is the Stiletto. This one is obviously the prettiest because it looks like a normal high heel, but they're the hardest to dance in. One, because Stiletto only comes in a 3.5 to 4 inch heel, so it's very high. Second thing is, if you see the post, the bottom of the shoe here, it's a very narrow heel. So when you're dancing, you don't have much support here. If you put your weight in your heel, you're more likely to have this heel kind of, you say, kick out on you. It's kind of when you're dancing and you lose your balance, because most dancers, especially if you're newer, they want to put a lot of weight on their heel and there's not much to trust there. So you really have to be trained to put your weight in the ball of your foot. So this is a Stiletto, yeah? You'll see that it gets very, very narrow, and here's your narrow post. Usually only comes in 3.5 to 4 inch. Some shoe manufacturers, depending on where they're located, will go centimeters versus inches, but you just do the conversion and you can say, oh, how many centimeters is many inches, yeah? This is not a beginner heel. This would be an intermediate or advanced heel, or maybe if you walk in high heels all the time and you really have strong ankles and calves, you could start here, but it's not usually a beginner heel. What's the Stiletto? I'm covering this one first because this is the one everyone thinks is beautiful and wants to go to, but it's not ideal for most new dancers. Usually it takes a while to work up to these. And I actually, for most social dancers, don't recommend this because you want to be really stable. I usually just recommend this for like a performance or maybe once in a while to have a nice showy heel, but a standard, multiple times a week going dancing, not my recommendation, but it's always your call. So the second type of heel, which is super common, is a flare. These come in all different heel heights. You can even have them custom made at a higher heel. I believe this is 3 inches. So if you see from the side, and it is a flare. So if you notice, it goes slightly in and then slightly out again. Yeah. This has the most stability because if you look here, it has the widest base. So as you put your foot down, you're going to have way more stability when you put your weight in your heel. Yeah. Also, because it's not as high, you're going to feel more stable right in there. But some companies will allow you to make a 4-inch flare. So don't think flare has to come only in one heel height. So I'm going to show you another one here. I think this is a 2.5. So here you can see I think this is a 2.5 and a 3, or a 2.5 and a 3.5. I'm not sure, but they're both flare. So just because it's flare doesn't mean that it has to be low. Yeah. But this is personally one of my favorite when I'm social dancing or dancing with a lot of people I don't know, because if I feel off balance or I don't know the dancer and, I'm getting put into a lot of wild moves, I have more stability in my own feet versus a Stiletto is, very little room for error. So this is my favorite to social dance in, but they're not as pretty as you can see because it has a blockier heel. So this is what I typically recommend beginner to intermediate students get is a flare. Whatever heel height is personal preference, but flare. The other one, which I personally don't have on me, is a slim. And a slim is in between a flare and a Stiletto. It's just straight down. Yeah, so you have your Stiletto, which is micro, your flare, which gets wider, and your slim, which just keeps that standard width all the way down. Yeah, slim is if I recommend for if you currently are using flare and you want to work your way up to Stiletto, you can get slim and then you can work your way to Stiletto, like I said. So there you go. That's the option, is flare. So in regards to which heel height you should get, it's purely personal preference. I usually recommend beginners start with something like a 2 or a 2.5, like this, and then you wear those out by taking classes in social dancing, and the next shoe you go up 1/2 inch to 1 inch. So let's say you start with a 2.5. Your next shoe, once that one wears out, would be a 3. And then once that shoe wears out, you get a 3.5. Once that shoe wears out, you could try a slim. something like that. So you're working up in 1/2 inch increments, starting at whatever you feel comfortable with. They even have lower heels that are about 1 inch that are wide and blocky. They're called practice heels, sometimes a Cuban heel. So what I recommend is you go to, depending on where you are in the world, you can actually go to a store and try on shoes. If you're in LA, you can go to Very Fine and you can try on basically any shoe that they make and see what feels comfortable. But usually the first heel, a 2 inch, is totally safe. 2.5 if you're a little wanting to try a little something higher. Get comfortable with that and then work your way up. Hope this video helped.